CBS Sports HQ, built by the Home Depot, how doers get more done. Back here with Richard Johnson and Brad Crawford with our top 25 look ahead. Alabama makes a statement. Brad, did we just see the #1 team in the nation?
We definitely should if the AP voters get it right in the morning. I mean, this is a team that on both sides of the football, at least in the first half, looked elite. I mean, we saw two, let's face it, playoff teams going at it in Tuscaloosa. Jalen Milroe, as we mentioned, playing at an elite level. And Bama, this is the first major signature win of Kalen DeBoer's era. This should push the tide from #4 coming into Saturday to #1 on Sunday morning.
I'm not precious with my rankings. Alabama's the #1 team after what they did this week. Sorry, Texas. I don't really know what to tell you. I think it's just not much more complicated than that.
All right. There it is. Move them up. Move them on up. I mean, look, it's pretty simple, right? When you beat the #2 team in the country, you're moving on up. And what they did has, if the vote, I'm not sure if with the voters, if somebody doesn't vote them #1. I mean, I guess you could make a case for Ohio State, but Ohio State hasn't played anybody. So, you know, and look, I'm an Ohio State fan, so I'm not making a case for Ohio State to be #1. You're good. Just fly under the radar at #2 or 3, okay? Meantime, #6 Ole Miss definitely going to slip in the rankings after losing to unranked Kentucky at home. All losses are bad. We know that, but this is really bad. The Rebels had 129 total yards in the first half, the fewest by a Lane Kiffin team at FAU or Ole Miss. Brad, how far do the Rebels fall, and what's the outlook for Ole Miss rest of way?
Yeah, I think Ole Miss falls out of the top 10, maybe in the 14 or 15 range. And I don't think Kentucky gets ranked despite winning at Ole Miss because they've already came in with 2 SEC losses, got blown out by South Carolina, lost to Georgia. So this was not a good home loss any way you crack it for Ole Miss. Kentucky was not a ranked team and was not one of the better teams that Ole Miss was going to play this season. So there's some fissures right now at Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin's, so-called elite team, I guess right now, is just a paper champion.
Absolutely. I mean, again, let's not be precious with this. Get them out of the top 15. It's not your birthright. If you're going to play like this at home against the first team on your schedule with the pulse, you're not a top 15 team. You're just not. Again, we don't have to be precious with these rankings, especially in September. Ole Miss, what they put out today, is not worthy of a top 15 ranking.
All right, Ole Miss out. It was Kentucky's first road win at Ole Miss since 1978, so a big win there from the Cats. #16 Notre Dame defeats 15th-ranked Louisville. Riley Leonard sharp again, and the defense standing strong in the end. We talked about this Notre Dame team, right? 3 straight losses since the embarrassing loss to Northern Illinois. What's your evaluation of Notre Dame at this point?
I think that the Notre Dame that we saw in the loss against Northern Illinois is not the Notre Dame that they are right now. Maybe Riley Leonard was a little more injured than they let on. And then you saw the next week against Purdue, the next time out, they righted the ship. I think today they won a game that I think was important for them to win because of how they did it. Sloppy conditions, gross weather out there. Leonard didn't exactly throw for 500 yards, but he did enough through the air and on the ground. And the defense really frustrated and flustered Louisville especially the first half. Louisville turned it over on downs twice and fumbled. And then the defense almost got a touchdown in the second half, although replay brought it back. So Notre Dame knows what its strength is. Notre Dame still has a schedule that I do think is manageable until the end of the season when they play USC.
So I took some flag this week when I called this a playoff elimination game for the Fighting Irish. Maybe Marcus Freeman heard our broadcast because Notre Dame played like its life was on the line too. 11-win Notre Dame team is not getting left out of the playoff any way you crack it. 10-2 Notre Dame team, though, with a loss today and maybe a win over USC late, that's where the at-large question comes into play. So he lost to NIU notwithstanding. If Notre Dame wins out from here, still a playoff team. Today was a must-win, and Riley Leonard much better through the air than he was last week.
I will say this. Don't sleep on Navy.
Or Army. Or Army.
Navy 4-0 on that Notre Dame schedule, first time since 1945.
Yeah, look out for both those schools. Okay, both of those games could be an absolute doozy. Top 20 showdown in Happy Valley. 9th-ranked Penn State stays undefeated with a 2-touchdown win over number 19 Illinois. Get this, Penn State allowed 219 yards, gained 213 yards on first down. Richard, what's your outlook for the Nittany Lions off to a 4-0 start?
I don't think this result is as ugly as I think you think when you look at the helmets on the field. Illinois is feisty, man. I'm telling you. That Illinois defense, they can really fly around. There's a no-fly zone they got in the defensive backfield. They have two really good defensive backs, despite all the guys that they lost off of last year's defense, particularly up front. Johnny Newton, chief among them. They're able to play this Penn State team tough because I think they are of similar level. I think they were an 18.5-point underdog. I thought that was way too high. I took Illinois to cover that spread, and they did. Penn State, okay, survive in advance, right, for another week. They got USC in a couple weeks. That's when they're really going to test their mettle again, because I think that game may get shootouty, right? We wanted to see what this Andy Kotelnicki offense could do in a game where it kind of got a little mucky, and they did not have this in hand until the very, very end. Luke Altmaier gave them an absolute gift in the fourth quarter as well. So Penn State was able to do enough, and they skate through this week, but USC in a couple weeks, that could get dicey.
Yeah, the good news for Penn State was they had this game circled. It's going to wind up being a quality win at home over a pretty good Illinois team. You know, both teams battled the line of scrimmage, but as you mentioned, Richard, USC and Ohio State coming up over the next 5 weeks or so. Those are the two games that Penn State fans know are going to determine whether or not this season's a success or a failure for James Franklin. The good news, they passed this test this evening and stayed unbeaten. So Penn State, a legit top 10 team after week 5.
Yeah, indeed, and they're ready to move up. All right, let's go through your top teams following Saturday. Richard, start with you here. Take us through your top teams here. What do we got? Let's have some conversations. I know you're not precious about these rankings, so let's lay it thick here.
Of course, you have Bama at number 1. It supplants Texas. I don't know. I re-rank teams. Who cares? Texas, number 2. Good showing from them. Ohio State. Your Ohio State Buckeyes. How about this? Up 31 points on 4th and 1. Julian Say, the backup quarterback, goes deep. Style points? I don't know. But Buckeyes, number 3, check in here. Georgia. I'm not going to ding Georgia too much because of the fight.
So they only fall to 4. Tennessee stays at 5,
They only fall to 4. You can't tell me the performance that Georgia had in the second half is not befitting of a top 5 team. That was incredible. Tennessee, cannot wait to see Tennessee over the balance of this season. That Tennessee offense, I get it, but the Tennessee defense, man, you have got to pay attention to how well this defense plays. They fly around. They are not this typical, air raid, smoke and mirrors, whatever you want to call them. No, the Vols have it. Miami, by the hair, their chinny chin chin. Shout out to the refs. And then Oregon and Penn State round out my top 8 that we have here.
Yeah, I've got the same top 8 as Richard. I guess great minds think alike. But there's a little caveat to this. I've got Oregon at number 7 there, and then Miami at 6. So Miami's a team that the schedule is not that difficult, and I'm not sure we're going to see Miami play an elite team until they maybe face Clemson later on in December in Charlotte for the ACC championship game. But Tennessee right now is a team that I think can move up over the next few weeks. And then, of course, Georgia falls from number 2 in my rankings to number 4 after tonight. Carson Beck, hell of a second half from him with 3 touchdown passes. But new number 1, Bama is fully deserving of that top spot.
There you go. In lockstep, Brad Crawford, Richard Johnson here on CBS Sports HQ, the top teams following week 5. And what a week it was as we take a look at the odds to win the national championship. Alabama, the favorite, plus 370, followed by Ohio State at plus 390. Texas comes in at plus 550. Georgia still very much in the mix at plus 650. Alabama with a statement win at home. They get up big. They absorb Georgia's comeback and another Milroe miracle in the end. Also the defense standing strong on the interception in the end zone. It's Roll Tide once again.